Kappa Sorority Incorporated, Eta Omega Chapter. Thank you to everyone joining and viewing this Kentucky Senate U.S. Candidate Forum presented through a coalition of organizations throughout the Commonwealth of Kentucky. National Panhellenic Council, Western Kentucky, Louisville section of the National Council of Negro Women Incorporated, 100 Black Men of Louisville, League of Women Voters Louisville, Louisville Urban League Panhellenic Council Louisville, Win with Black Women Kentucky, NAACP Kentucky State Conference, and League of Women Voters Kentucky. We sincerely thank each organization for partnering with Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Eta Omega Chapter for this important civic engagement initiative. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated is committed to ensuring voters across the Commonwealth of Kentucky are educated, informed, and engaged in the democratic process. We believe civic participation and access to voter information are essential to strengthening our communities and empowering voters to make informed decisions at the ballot box. Tonight's forum provides an opportunity for voters to hear directly from the candidates as they discuss issues impacting Kentucky and our nation ahead of Election Day. At this time, I would also like to acknowledge our moderators representing the NAACP Bowling Green, Warren County branch, Dr. Sandra Ardrey and Ryan Dearbone, who will help guide tonight's discussion. Thank you again for joining us, and we hope tonight's forum is informative, respectful, and impactful. Thank you.
All of the candidates for the U.S. Senate were invited to participate in the forum. We are honored to welcome 7 candidates and deeply appreciate their willingness to participate in a public dialogue with the people of Kentucky. We thank everyone joining us at watch parties and virtually from communities large and small across the state. This forum is designed to encourage respectful discussion, thoughtful exchange, and greater understanding of where the candidates stand on the issues that affect our daily lives. While we may not agree on every issue, it is important to listen and participate in the democratic process. As moderators, Ryan and I will work to ensure that tonight's discussion remains fair, timely, and respectful to all participants. We ask our candidates to help us maintain a spirit of professionalism and civility throughout the evening. As moderators, Ryan and I will work to ensure that tonight's discussion remains fair, timely, and respectful to all participants. We ask our candidates to help us maintain a spirit of professionalism and civility throughout the evening. Let us begin tonight's candidate forum.
All right, now it's time for the format of tonight's forum. Each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement. They'll have a response to each question, and it should be no more than 90 seconds. If you have a rebuttal, that will be part of your 90 seconds, and you will have a closing statement that will be 2 minutes. And now we will have our opening statement, but first we will introduce our candidates. Our first candidate is Republican candidate Michael Farris. Also, Democratic candidate Logan Forsyth. Democratic candidate Amy McGrath. Democratic candidate Dale Romans. Democratic candidate Pamela Stevenson. Democratic candidate Vincent Thompson. And Democratic candidate Charles Booker. Now, our first opening statement, we will have you tell us what your top 3 priorities in your first term as senator will be. You'll have 1 minute. So again, the question will be, what are your top 3 priorities in your first term as senator? And Charles Booker, you will go first.
All right, well, good evening. Can you hear me okay? All right, good, great. Well, I am very honored to be here. Thank you all for this platform. And I know we have to get right to it because we have a full 90 minutes. My priorities are really rooted in ending generational poverty. That's why I'm doing this. I don't come from politics. I don't trust politicians. I've worked in every level of government because I know that change won't happen unless we do it. And what I'm committed to is the social determinants of health. But first, we got to get big money out of politics. That's a priority number one for me. Securing democracy and getting big money out of politics so that foundationally, everyone's voice can be heard. Once we do that immediately, we have to have a bold vision that addresses structural inequities and helps our communities heal so that Kentucky is not one of the poorest states in the country, one of the sickest states in the country. That's why I've been a champion for Medicare for all. I believe healthcare is a human right, and I believe that we can win it in the same way that our government now is funding endless war. We can fund Medicare for all. I believe we need universal basic income, financial freedom and investment in our communities, a holistic conversation of reparations, and we need to prioritize working people. That's my anchor. I have a Working People's Bill of Rights. I'll talk more about that tonight, but it's a holistic vision of how we take care of working people, pay true living wages, and make sure everyone can live a good life. I'll keep going if I got more time.
No, sir, our next, no, you're fine, sir. You're good. I appreciate that, and we let you talk all night if we could. Our next is Michael Ferris.
Yes, hello. Thank you and good evening. I appreciate your platform. Good to see everyone here tonight. Looks like you pulled a crowd, so congratulations there. My name is Mike Ferris, resident of Elizabethtown. Three of the main things that kind of encouraged me to run for U.S. Senate was one, just kind of the rogue judgeship we have going on at the federal level. I know that because I've been battling them for the last 6 years of my own constitutional rights. Another thing would be ending foreign aid, voting against any foreign aid to any country until we can figure out what's going on right here in the state of Kentucky, of course, and in the nation. And I don't think we should be sending all of our taxpayer monies out of the country while we have so many problems going on right here at home. Another one would be healthcare as well. But I think, obviously, I'm not a fan of the federal government being in healthcare. But the problem is we've subsidized 4 of the largest healthcare companies in the country right now. That's Centene, United, Anthem, BCBS, and Aetna. And they are basically robbing our federal purse blind. And in my opinion, I think HSAs are the way of the future. You start them out young, and when they're older, they have enough money as they retire to use it as they will. Now, it won't completely replace the Medicare or the ACA, but it would wing off certain peoples who are absolutely able-bodied to go out and do for themselves while we take care of the most vulnerable in our country. Appreciate your time, and those would be my top 3 priorities.
All right, thank you so much. Our next one is Logan Forsythe.
All right, thank you. And thank you all for putting this on and having us all tonight. My name is Logan Forsythe, and right now I'm an attorney. I'm a workers' rights attorney and a civil rights attorney. But if you don't know my story, I grew up in pretty bad poverty in rural Kentucky. So as Kentucky's next senator, I'm going to be focused on everything that most Kentuckians actually need. Affordability is something that kind of seems like a pipe dream right now. Every day, everything is more expensive, whether it's gas or groceries, school supplies for our kids, the clothing that we all need to wear to go out in public. It's just getting harder for the average Kentuckian to live. And that's by design. That's because we've had really poor leadership in DC for my whole life. We need somebody in there that's going to focus on ensuring that the federal minimum wage standard is changed to a living wage standard, one that is automatically adjusted with inflation every single year, and that doesn't take an act of Congress. That's going to be the first thing that I champion. Second, I'm going to ensure that no employer can participate in any kind of union busting activities. We have to protect our working class. Kentucky is a state of working class people. If we don't protect them, we're just going to continue to get worse off, and we can't have that. And lastly, I want to make sure that federal funds, an appropriate amount of federal funds, are allocated for education. I only was able to overcome poverty because I was able to get an education. And I believe an education is the key for anybody to better their lives. So we need to ensure that all of our public schools are fully funded, that the schools are safe and they are clean for the students that get there, that they have all the resources students need, and that students are in an environment that fosters education so that they can reach their potential. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next one is Amy McGrath.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Amy McGrath, running for this open U.S. Senate seat on the Democratic side. Great to be with everyone. Kentucky deserves a senator who's ready on day one, and that's exactly what I've done my whole life. The Senate desperately needs people right now with a background and understanding in national security. With what our country is facing, what the world is facing, and this global crisis of epic proportions that will get worse. Pamela and I have spent our entire lives serving our country, and get this. And I've always stepped up when the stakes were high, and the mission was tough. So when you ask me, what are the three things that are the priorities? It's the priorities for Kentucky. And the first one is getting these prices down, which people in Kentucky, the average Kentucky family is spending $5,000 more this year than last year. So you got to tackle that. Go after the things that cause the prices to go up and make life so unaffordable for people. And I have the background in the backbone to take on these tariffs that cause a lot of this. This war causes a lot of the prices to go up. And secondly, protect healthcare. Kentucky was the poster child for doing things right with the Affordable Care Act. And right now, all of that's being thrown away. So we have to protect healthcare. And the third thing is democracy, real democracy reforms, right? We're talking term limits. We're talking ending stock trading, ending gerrymandering, ending dark money. These are all things that would be a priority for me in the United States Senate. So I'm looking forward to this forum tonight. I thank the sponsors for hosting this. This is really important. Looking forward to it, everyone.
Our next candidate is Dale Romans. I believe Mr. Romans is trying to connect back. If you can hear me, Mr. Romans, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm sorry I got knocked off there for a second. Yeah, I'm Dale Romans. I'm not a politician. I've never run for office before, but I've been a lifelong political junkie. I've worked on Capitol Hill and my other aspect of president of the law enforcement group in America. And I've worked with Frankfurt and a lot of politicians, and I'm just tired of the way things are going in Washington. And I think I decided to run because I'm tired of us losing. We keep doing the same things over and over and over, and we keep losing. A Democrat can win the state of Kentucky. Andy Beshear has proven that a Democrat can win a statewide race. This is an opportunity that we can't let pass. And for my top three, I mean, there's so many issues that I think you can work on, the realistic issues that can get passed, that can get 60 senators to vote on them, 215 congressmen, and a president to sign into action. We can work bipartisan. I keep saying I'm tired of fighting. I want to go fix. I don't want to fight. I want to fix. But healthcare is a big one. We need to repeal the big bill, put the money back where it's supposed to be, put it back into the tax credits that allow people to stay on the Affordable Care Act until we find a better healthcare system. If it comes along, I'm all for it. But until then, you can't repeal and replace. You have to replace before you repeal. You just yank the company from a lot of people and kick them off healthcare. That affects everyone. Every person who drops off their healthcare program raises the cost of everyone else. We're losing millions of people because of the big bill that gave all the tax. And the other thing is education reform. I was diagnosed in second grade, severely dyslexic, and I've spoken at a lot of dyslexic camps, learning different camps. And I know today's technology in the 21st century, we can move Kentucky's education forward by teaching people who need to learn differently. And we need to put as much money as possible into education. We need to shore up the education department instead of dismantle it, so the whole country is equal and even and working on the same programs at the same times. But we need to change the way we're educating certain people. We don't all learn the same. So, and the other thing is immigration reform, which is a big deal for me. In my industry, we work a big migrant workforce, and we need to change it. We don't need to be yanking people off the streets because of the color of their skin. Let's stop deporting and start documenting.
Thank you, Mr. We have to call your time for that one. Our next candidate is Pamela Stephenson.
Good evening. I am Pam Stevenson. I was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. I served 27 years in the United States Air Force, and now I'm the Minority House floor leader. I am doing all the things that everyone's talking about. Affordable housing for working families. What I don't understand is why this system is set up so that working families, the foundation of the economy, are not taken care of. We need to do everything we can to make sure that families thrive. And that includes being able to afford the basics: healthcare, food, clothing, shelter. Healthcare is critical because you can't live in this body without having healthcare. Secondly, the programs that we have paid into, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, we need to maintain those. And then we have to restore order. This past legislative session, I put in bills to raise the minimum wage. I put in supported bills to make sure that Medicaid was more funded. We didn't necessarily do all the funding that was necessary, but we got more funding. We have to keep fighting those battles for the working families. I really don't understand why they think they can take and mistreat and abuse and not give working families what they need and think their companies will still thrive. We must be the voice for working families. I will do that in Washington because I've done it in the legislature. I've done it in the Air Force. I've done it nationally and internationally. I look forward to the day when one job will be enough for you to take care of your family.
Thank you. And our final candidate, Vincent Thompson. You're muted, sir.
Well, thank you for the time today. So my three pillars of my campaign, they focus around similar topics that the other candidates have talked about. Number one priority for myself, my wife passed away in 2020. I directly attribute that to the fact that insurance has entirely too much power over the healthcare system. That was an unfortunate side effect and a compromise under the Affordable Care Act. My goal is to get insurance out of healthcare. I'll even like to borrow Mr. Ferris's point of, with the money we would save by going to Medicare for all, we're already spending $8,500 of our taxpayer money. And now we're being asked to spend about $4,000 over and above out of our own pocket. So that'd be a great redirection for that $4,000 for HSA. So thanks for that idea, Mr. Ferris. And then the second pillar of my campaign, I intend to make sure that I'm going to continue my mission of protecting the soil and water of Kentucky. I'm currently an elected official on the Hardin County Conservation District, and it's been my professional life's work to make sure that we have clean water and we have the soil intact for our two main priorities in life, is just food and water. Without those two things, all these other matters that we're discussing are going to be moot points. And then my final pillar of my campaign, my wife is a special needs teacher. My daughter has special needs. She has autism. I feel like we're doing a great disservice to our country by allowing children to move through the education system. And I feel like we need to be focused on early childhood intervention. I'm very happy with what Governor Beshear has gotten accomplished with the pre-K for all. I think that's a great first step. But the most pivotal time in a child's life for learning is between the ages of 3 and 7. That comes directly from my wife, who had a master's in special education. Once we lose that window, it's a very hard struggle to get these kids back in line and get them to be productive members of society. We're already seeing the issues with homeless people, with drug addiction. All these kind of things can be directly attributed to special needs that have been either not addressed or just entirely passed over. So those are my three pillars of my campaign. Again, it's Vincent Thompson. Thank you for having me. As you can see, AI doesn't like me because I'm bouncing around like a rave, but I'm not much on AI either. So maybe that's a fourth issue.
Thank you very much, candidates. Do we get everyone's welcoming statement? All righty. For our first question, let's just jump right in. Here's some background on the first question. Nearly 7% of Kentucky's population are veterans. Many face challenges assessing comprehensive health care, stable housing, and meaningful employment after military service. What specific actions would you support to address these challenges? How can the government ensure strong accountability within federal VA programs? And remember, your response should be within the 2-minute limit. Our first question goes to Michael Ferris.
Okay, very good. Thank you for the question. In my opinion, with veterans, especially as it relates to healthcare, I think what we're doing is we're asking these folks to go somewhere that's way too far away from where they are currently residing, whether that be for a PTSD or maybe a disability, right? They can't get there, but they've got a hospital within a mile of them. I mean, look, we need to make sure those people can go to that hospital and receive the same, if not better, treatment than if they go to some sanctioned VA hospital. I think it's a bit ridiculous that we're trying to chokehold into this one place and then stretch these people out so far and not give them access to good doctors. Beyond that, I'm a fan of grants. Look, find out what these people did, give them grants to use what they learned in the military to become entrepreneurials and or entrepreneurs in their own industry. So like for myself, I'm a helicopter mechanic. I've been doing this for 20 years. I would love nothing more than a grant to have started my own business, but I did it with the money out of my own pocket. And, basically what we do is we convert old Black Hawk helicopters into civilian aircraft. We get them from the Army, decommission them, and then basically turn them into wildland firefighting apparatuses and utility construction assets. We have customers from Texas all the way west to California, Australia, and Canada. Now, all that was built on reputation, but it required merit to go out and do that. And so we need to be looking at making sure we're taking care of our veterans, not only on the health aspect, but on the idea of what is it that they crafted? What was their craftsmanship inside of that the body of government? And can we help them succeed instead of just letting them out and dropping them on their knees, So I appreciate the question. That would be my ideas. And I think it can very easily be done if we can cut all this foreign aid.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. Next up is Mr. Forsyth.
Thank you, Doctor, for the question. So first and foremost, when I finished law school, my first attorney job was with the Department of Defense. I was a civilian with the Air Force. And in that role, I was limited in my experience with all of the intricate and real issues that many of the airmen and other troops throughout the other branches faced. But I did witness more times than I can count, multiple times where one of our service members needed help with something in their life and it was kind of glazed over. There are resources available when they're actively on duty and they would take advantage of that, but many times it wouldn't solve the full problem. So we have to start there. While they're still on active duty, while they're still serving our country, we need to make sure that they have absolutely every resource that they need to handle any kind of problem, whether it's professional or personal. They are willing to lay down their life for us. We better be willing to put the funds into the system to ensure that they are going to be taken care of. When they come out, we have to expand the VA services. And I agree with Mr. Ferris and his take. We shouldn't just make them go to one or two hospitals throughout Kentucky to receive treatment. VA services and doctors should be traveling to other hospitals. They should be able to see these people where they are at no cost at all to the veterans. And we should expand it beyond regular physical and mental health care. Let's look into job training programs that we can bring and we can utilize the existing infrastructure that we have, whether it's the VA system or another agency. Let's just ensure that we are propping these people up, these veterans who have given way more than many of us have been asked or have given in our past. And let's give them the tools that they need when they come back to regular life with us to actually be successful and be the best versions of themselves going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Forsyth. Next up is Amy McGrath.
Yeah, thank you for this question. This is such an important question, and really, this is the first forum that I've been in that has asked about veterans. So thank you, folks. There's three big things that our country does for veterans, and all three of those things have been deeply cut by this current administration and Republicans, frankly. Okay, so I'm just going to be real here. Number one is healthcare. The Trump administration has cut over 80,000 jobs in the VA. And I appreciate people saying, hey, veterans should be able to go anywhere. Great. But the reality is that isn't in place right now. And what's happening is these cuts to the VA are really hurting. I spent the last 6 years on the board of Iraq Afghanistan Veterans of America, and we worked for over a decade to get mental health care into the VA. very hard work. And guess what this administration has done in the first year? They've cut 500 psychologists and psychiatrists from the VA. I have lost more friends to suicide than I have lost in battle. This is wrong, okay? I am not somebody for privatizing the VA, okay? We've got to give our veterans the care that they need. It's a very unique care for PTSD and other things that are unique to veterans. Number two, the GI Bill. Veterans get the GI Bill. That's the second thing, a modest thing that most veterans get. And this Trump administration has made it harder for veterans to get the GI Bill. And the third thing is housing. We get a modest VA home loan, okay? And again, this Trump administration and Republicans have seen it in their power to actually make it harder to get home loans. We've got to restore all that stuff. And the last thing I'll say is we cannot send people to war if we are not willing to take care of them on the way home. All right, that's really important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dale Romans, you're up next.
First of all, I want to say I've never been in the military, so I don't want to act like I'm speaking from a point of experience. But I did have lunch yesterday with two Iraqi and Afghanistan veterans, and one of them was a commander, and he told me that he lost 43 troops under his command while in Afghanistan, but he's lost 35 in the United States by suicide since they came home. There's obviously a time that we need to have mental health experts evaluate every soldier, whether they've been in war or not, to come before we just turn them loose and kick them out of the nest. And one of them was explaining to me yesterday, he said, you think about kids that go into the military straight out of high school or straight out of college. In high school, you're very structured. In college, you're very structured. In the military, everything you do is structured. And you expect them to walk out the door the last day of the military, understand how to live free and open and not be structured. And we need to educate people on how to adapt back into society and make sure that we provide all the health care, mental health care, and health care that they need. Because teachers and veterans are two of the most important people we have in this country, and we owe them a debt of gratitude when they leave the service.
Thank you very much. Pamela Stevenson, you're up next.
In 27 years in the United States Air Force, I took an oath to the Constitution to defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic, as did thousands of other military members. We trained them hard to stand for the promise of America. And then we sent them to foreign lands to fight for that promise. And when they come home, we dump them. We don't give them the same level of training to reintegrate back into the community. We gutted the VA. We gutted the programs. We've essentially said, you've done all you can for us. We need to move on. The problem that we're having is we've asked those people to do things that we train them not to do as children. Kill people, harm things, stand for something, and follow the directions of your commander. When you do those type of things, we have to reintegrate them back into the system with the same power that we put them into the system. And we don't do that. We are very comfortable with veterans sleeping with snow as a blanket. We are very comfortable with veterans with no limbs not getting the prosthesis that they need. We're very comfortable with mental health issues among our veteran population, such that we have a high suicide rate. And then we wonder why they're having recruiting problems. We cannot stand by and tell the people that have said, I don't want to die, but I'm willing to give my life for the freedoms we have in America if I have to, and not take care of them. Secondly, we have to have leadership they can trust. When my commanders, I'm a legal advisor, and I advise combatant commanders on war plans, on what to do and how to do it, and the rules of engagement. And our troops trusted that we knew what we were doing. They need that same level of trust on the battlefield and at home.
Thank you very much. Vincent Thompson?
Well, I myself have not been a veteran, but I did attempt to become a military member. when I was younger, I attempted to go into the Navy, and they actually wanted me to get into naval intelligence. And I made it through the entire process until the very last door. And then somewhere along the line, it was learned that I had used an allergy inhaler, and I was escorted out. Now, this was pre 9/11. After that, they were more than willing to take me. And I'm very, very in tune with the Veterans Affairs. I have many family members who work in the system with Veterans Affairs, and it is appalling what we have allowed to occur to our veterans over the course of this last century. The last time that the veterans were really given any type of benefit other than what Mr. McGrath was talking about with the innovations that have come along the last 10 years was post-World War II, when they had access to moderate home loans and also farm loans, which was a career in and of itself. And those have been whittled away by administration after administration. And we are at a point now where we have to put the same methods in place that I was speaking about earlier regarding to early childhood intervention and continuing educational intervention. All those same services should be tied into one type of bill that is going to ensure that we have mental health care, we have physical health care available to anybody that we have in this country, but especially for our veterans who have served and given so much. There's no reason why we're allowing them to go through the situations that they're going through. If we ensure that we have the proper funding for our rural hospitals, most people live in Kentucky, they're in a rural area. They need these rural hospitals. They're in danger of closing. I think it's around 38 of them. So properly funding those, properly funding the veteran systems that we have, making sure that that's an open system where they can equally access it, not just in VA hospitals, but in rural hospitals across the state.
Thank you very much. And
You're
the
welcome.
last comment goes to Charles Booker.
Thank you. Thank you for this question, because it does speak to our commitment to our country for folks who have dedicated their lives making the greatest sacrifice to come home and to be denied care, to have difficulty finding a place to stay. We have folks who have served this country who are sleeping on the streets. And I am on a panel with several folks who have sacrificed. And I want to honor you by saying, as the next United States Senator, I'm going to make sure that we address the challenges that impact our veterans, both within government and in community. And I agree that we have to address the cuts to VA. I agree we need to modernize the infrastructure so that folks get the care they need, specialized care, so that we aren't dealing with these backlogs. And one of the things that has hit me hard over the years, when I was working in the governor's office, working in Metro Council as a state legislator, I would get those calls from loved ones who were trying to figure out what to do because their brave partner or family member committed suicide after deep struggles. Or they're trying to find housing, they're trying to find access to healthcare. So I know we have to take this head on, and it's why my policy is centered in uplifting working people. This is why Medicare for All is so important to me. The flag raised about rural hospitals and the infrastructure around Kentucky, we have to address that. And we have to make sure that housing is protected as a human right, whether you are a homeowner or a renter. And that's why I've lifted up a Tenants' Bill of Rights. I believe we have to center working people, and I believe that's what our veterans are asking for. They have fought for this country to uphold the ideals of democracy so that no one is living in generational poverty, no one is suffering to put food on the table. That's the type of senator that I will be for our veterans, for our service members, and ultimately, I hold the title of claiming to be a pro-peace candidate, because we need to end endless war. We need to end the military-industrial complex. And although I have not served in the military, I know for this moment.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to the second question. And here's a little background for that question. Kentucky is ranked among the least healthy states, often placed in the bottom 5 due to high rates of chronic disease, smoking, obesity, and drug-related deaths. There are significant challenges to women's health, with limited access to maternal care and high maternal mortality. And for our young people, aged 15 to 24, suicide is the second leading cause of death. And here's the question. What specific federal policy or policies would you champion to significantly improve health and mental health services and access, especially for women and youth in less resourced areas? And how would your approach differ from your opponents. And the first question goes to Logan Forsythe.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, so first and foremost, we have to make healthcare accessible to everybody. That means many things, and I believe most of us have similar ideas on this. But I firmly believe that when we develop this society, when we develop a system that ties your access to healthcare to a job, we've lost something. We have broken a system already just by building it that way. I don't think that your access to a doctor should determine if you have a 9 to 5 or if you are working at any kind of a job, even outside of the 9 to 5. If you are in America, if you're in Kentucky, if you are ill, if you are injured, you should be able to go see a doctor. Second, we have to actually take mental health care serious. And it is becoming more mainstream, more common knowledge that so many people, especially the younger generation, suffer from many mental health issues and crises, but we're still not doing enough. We need to have more health professionals in our school system. This goes along with us building up the education system like I want to do. We need to make sure that we spot the issues as they are appearing in these young people and we start resolving them at that time. But that can only happen if we acknowledge that there's a problem, that there's this epidemic that is sweeping younger people. And it is true. It's happening in record numbers. For women's health, this is something very near and dear to me. So I have 2 children. My son's 14, my daughter's 10. One of the main reasons why I jumped into this race is my daughter, who is 10 years old, has less rights today than she did the day she was born. And most of it's centered and revolving around her access to healthcare. We're moving backwards. Government has no place, especially many of the bureaucrats, many of the people in Congress. We have no place telling women what access to healthcare that they are entitled to. We need to keep those kind of decisions between the patient and the doctors.
Thank you very much. Let me, I think the timekeeper is being a little bit more aggressive in terms of turning people off. So let me remind you that you've got 90 seconds, and I believe that there's a little timer up at the top, so be aware of that. And with that in mind, Amy McGrath, you're up.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I've got technology issues. Okay. Yes, this is a great question. Right now, I think in America, we are in the stop the bleeding mode when it comes to healthcare. Okay, Americans are losing their healthcare every day. The Republicans in power are making it much worse. If you're asking me what specifically I would do, one, I talk a lot about this. Restore the cuts that were made in this big ugly bill. Okay, we got to restore them. 35 of our rural hospitals at risk. Medicaid is the biggest cut in Medicaid history. Your zip code should not determine whether you get health care or not. 2, restore the Affordable Care Act subsidies that allow people to afford insurance. All right. And then fix a broken healthcare system that we all know is broken, and the true public option is a way that we can do that does not throw anyone off their current healthcare plan. But particularly with regarding this issue of women's health and Black maternal mortality is a real problem. Black women are I think 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy related causes. And we just we have to know about that and tackle that problem. And how do we do it? We don't do it by cutting Medicaid. That's why you got to claw back the Medicaid cuts that disproportionately hit rural hospitals, disproportionately hit low-income mothers. And also we have to bring back investment into research that the Trump administration cut that is for research and development to expand the data collection on the racial disparities. All right, because they're real.
Thank you very much. Right on time. Dale Romans? Your comments?
Okay, I think the way I understood the question is about how unhealthy Kentucky is, not about health care. So I would like to say that's a generational thing. It's a cultural thing for Kentucky. We love our Mountain Dew and fried food. But we need to intervene in kids' lives when they're young and start educating them on how to eat healthier, be healthier. And we need to, when they come into school and we start that, we also need to tell their parents, start educating their parents on being healthy. But that's a generational change. But we got to start intervening young and start making Kentuckians healthier from the ground up. And as far as the children's mental health goes, we need to rein in cyberbullying, and we need to rein in the internet, and we need to start keeping kids off of the internet. It's the wild, wild west out there. It's still in its infancy. And we're just letting it run wild and letting kids pick on other kids online and the internet, and it's leading to all these young people's suicides. And it's a major problem, and we need legislation to fix it and rein it in. And for women's health care, the government should stay out of women's health care. We should make sure that you're able to do with your body what you think is best.
Thank you very much. Pamela Stevenson?
The government is designed to create a community for us to live together, not to tell us what to do. And right now we're in the mode of the government telling you how to live your life. We must have an education system that's strong because our children will be global leaders. We're no longer isolated and separated. And to be and that education includes nutrition. I've been across Kentucky and I've seen people feed babies Kool-Aid. The second part is affordability. If potato chips cost less than protein, a lot of people are going to eat potato chips. Third, all the programs that we have in school, the free lunches, for children to be nourished, the way the schools have expanded their process for the children, we have to uplift those things. The fourth thing is maternal health in 2026. Why are women dying from childbirth in 2026 from preventable causes? We must have family-focused policies that show the people, Kentucky families, that we care about them and we're listening to what they need. We're not to tell them what to do with their bodies. We're not to tell them how to live their lives. We create an environment so families can thrive, they can earn the money they need to earn to take care of their families, and they have health care that's available.
Thank you very much. Right on time. Vincent Thompson.
Can I get you to repeat the question, please?
What specific federal policy or policies would you champion to significantly improve health and mental health services and accessibility for Kentuckians?
Thank you. So I was leaning into my answer on this question, the fact that we were discussing women's health care. My wife was 33 years old when she passed away. She was diagnosed at 27 with congestive heart failure that was postpartum related. We have been seeing this creep up for a while. It's just not been as publicized. And the fact that that can occur 10 years ago, 11 years ago, is a testament to this was building for a long time. Dealing with the issues of healthcare for across the state, the fact that we are making everything prepackaged and easily available is a problem. But that is the way that corporations are doing it, because that's the way that the world has worked. When people can't afford to stay home, they have to work 2 jobs, so they're not going to feel like cooking when they get home. As a response to the other part of the healthcare issue, direct policies that are going to be working with this. It's going to lean back into Medicare for all. It's going to be lean back into making sure that we have funding available for the schools, where as of right now in my county, the school lunch program has been cut. And that was one of the 2 meals that was guaranteed for for children to have available to them. And we can't be cutting programs like that. It's going to tie all these issues are tying back into the same issues, the big, beautiful bill, ugly bill, whatever you want to call it. All these things are tied in with the fact that we have no funding dedicated to that, because people are not concerned about it because it's not affecting them personally.
Thank you very much.
You're
Charles Booker.
Well, you started by mentioning maternal health, and that means a lot to me personally, because my mom often called me her golden child. I'm an only child, although I come from a really big family. My cousins are like my siblings, but my mom suffered from several miscarriages and nearly lost her life. And when she was pregnant with me, she was told that she would likely not make it. So I thank God that I'm here, and I thank God that I still have her. But it's one of the reasons why I support Medicare for all, but it's also why I believe we have to address maternal mortality, particularly in Kentucky, which has one of the highest rates in the country. I've spoken with Congresswoman Lauren Underwood in Illinois about her momnibus legislation, and I think we need to support comprehensive health care for women, includes specialized care, includes addressing the social determinants of health. This is why my platform is about addressing the root causes of why Kentucky has been one of the sickest states and one of the poorest states. And I've been a bit of a broken record here, talking for years about Medicare for all, talking years about ending generational poverty and addressing the social determinants of health. And what we're seeing now is that's what people are demanding in leadership. And that's why I'm leading in every poll. That's why we're in a position to not only win this primary, but to win in November, because we're finally going to prioritize the health of the people of Kentucky and center the women of Kentucky. I believe we need to protect abortion access. Abortion care is health care. I will be a leader for the women of Kentucky and for our families in the U.S. Senate.
Thank you very much. And Michael Ferris, what are your comments?
Yes, thank you for the question. On the healthcare front of all of this, as it deals with women and the children, listen, the state is going to have to get rid of certificate of need first. The problem right now with the state of Kentucky is the state is asking all of these people to be a part of some network and this big corporatocracy. You've got to bust that up, disband it, let people practice based on what they know. Look, I don't monopolize Black Hawk helicopter maintenance. They shouldn't be monopolizing healthcare. The thing is, people go to school, they train. You don't look, C's get degrees. You don't know if that position got a C or an A. If they want to open a practice and take care of women and children and make that competitive and then reduce that pricing so that people can afford it, then that's what we need to do. This is not going to be a federal government fix because, first of all, they can't agree on anything anyway. Secondly, the child issue, as far as all the mental problems, I think that starts with you politicians who come back, in retail media and retail politics. They bash each other. And I'll keep this on my side of the aisle here. We just had a Republican dropped out, endorsed the opponent that he bashed all year on TV with ads and negative publicity and all this stuff. So if you're going to air that on TV as somebody who's supposed to be the leader of your state, what do you think these people are going to do on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook? These young people are looking at this, and young people are getting more involved in politics today. Another problem with this is, and you've got to stop doing this as well, you got to quit voting for people who tell you everything's just free. It ain't. You got to get up. You got to go to work. You got to work for it. If you can go do it, you need to go do it.
Thank you very much. It's time now for our next series of questions, and Ryan will ask those questions.
All right, thank you. So this next question is, do you believe improving health outcomes in Kentucky depend more on expanding access to medical care or addressing economic factors like housing stability, jobs, and economic opportunities? And the first person to have this question will be Amy McGrath.
Yeah, I found it a little bit difficult to get it, but your question, but I'll try. It's something about, do you believe health outcomes is important and also housing is important as well? I think all of it's important. Specifically with regards to healthcare, we need to fix a broken healthcare system that we know is driven by money and not care. And that's why I'm for things like a true public option, where Americans should be able to buy a government insurance plan, not just a private plan. You'd force the private insurers to compete, driving down prices. And you wouldn't throw anyone off their current healthcare plan if they like it. So I think those things are really practical and can be done. With regards to housing, we have so many Kentuckians that can't afford housing right now. And the cost of everything is getting worse. Rent is higher than ever. Young Kentuckians can't afford to buy or own their own home. Yes, there's a federal government role in this. For housing and urban development grants, a lot of that has been cut. We need to support the programs that fund affordable housing, home repairs, home ownership, no more private equity firms buying up these homes and jacking up the prices. And also tariffs. Tariffs is a tax on all of us, but it jacks up the prices of building materials and new homes. So all of those things are things I think that we can address in the United States Senate.
All right, thank you. And I'm going to repeat the question one more time just to make sure everyone can hear. So the question is, do you believe improving health outcomes in Kentucky depend more on expanding access to medical care or addressing economic factors like housing stability, jobs, and economic opportunity? Next person to get this question is Dale Romans.
I think they all work hand in hand. I think, if you don't have a place to sleep, you're not going to be healthy. If you don't have good food to eat, you're not going to be healthy. If you don't have good health care, you're not going to be healthy. So, as far as affordable housing goes, I've been championing a program of tax credits to developers who will go that can build that can build houses that aren't just based on the profits that they sell the houses for, but they receive tax credits like we do historic buildings. I mean, historic buildings are important, but they're no more important than having affordable housing for people to live in. We're at a 10 million house deficit in the United States right now. So all three work together and they work in tandem.
We will move on to Vincent Thompson, if you can answer the question.
I am here and ready. So we're talking about all these issues and seem to be a lot of repeat and repeat. Just like Mr. Roman said, I mean, every one of those factors are going to have their own particular place in the whole hierarchy of needs. And me being a farmer, the ability for me to not only produce healthy local food, but also have access to getting that local food to the places where it matters. And this is not just me. We have programs like this that are focused on urban agriculture, and we're importing the fresh fruits and vegetables, and they're being left on the side of the lunch tray while the prepackaged sweet stuff goes down first, because that's just how it works. I'm kind of that way myself when I go into the kitchen. Sometimes the orange doesn't look as good as a candy bar, but we have to work on that entire ecosystem of getting health from the ground up.
No worries. Thank you, Ryan, for the question. And thank you all for trying to resolve the technical issue. I appreciate it. So in terms of the question, it's improving the health outcomes in Kentucky and in America and in the world. It's a combination of everything that we're talking about here. It's not just access to healthcare, which is vitally important. It's one of those things that you can't improve your outcomes if you can't access the thing that you're trying to improve, right? The care to make that better. But also, so much of our health is reliant on our daily personal lives and everything we're going through. You know, when I have a biology degree, I was going to be a doctor.
This meeting is being recorded.
I went to law school at the last second because my first child was born, and I needed to get done with school as soon as possible and start making money because I grew up in poverty. I didn't want to raise a child in poverty. But I have many friends who went on to medical school, like was planned. And so many of them took a class during their first or second year of medical school that was just called Dealing with Stress. And they, like many students, thought that was how do you, as a medical student, as someone who's entering this profession, deal with the stress that is sure to come with that venture. But really, that class was focused on the fact that so many people in America and throughout the world deal with so much stress from poverty, from homelessness, from being hungry, and how that stress actually detrimentally affects their overall health. And our medical providers know it. We all know it. We have to focus on resolving those issues.
All right, thank you, Stevenson. The question is, do you believe improving health outcomes in Kentucky depend more on expanding access to medical care or addressing housing stability, jobs, and economic opportunity?
Well, I like to look at it a little bit differently. To be a human, to have human rights means you cannot live in this body without health care, mental and physical, food, water, shelter. And very closely after that is education. We live in a global economy where we will either be telling other countries what to do or they'll be telling us what to do. We must raise our children to think and be world leaders. It's not enough just to make sure they get by. Secondly, every family ought to have the basics. I'm not sure why that's such a difficult concept. In some parts of Kentucky, there are still rural areas that go to the town square for clean water. If we can put a man on the moon, we just haven't focused enough on providing clean water. We've got to make sure that we prepare the next generation and the generation afterwards to be world leaders. And it takes both the basics, and it also takes an economy where the wealth redistribution is different. You can't have the bottom 50% only earning 2.5% of the wealth. You can't have the top 1% owning most of the wealth. The whole system needs to be rearranged so that the workers, who are the foundation of this economy, get what they need to make sure their families thrive. And when they have the money and access to health care, they take care of their business.
Thank
We ought
you.
to provide that.
Thank you. Is Charles Booker, has he made it back on? Okay, I see you're on here, Mr. Booker. So I will give you the question as well. Do you believe improving health outcomes in Kentucky depends more on expanding access to medical care or addressing economic factors like housing stability, jobs, and economic opportunity?
I believe they are absolutely hand in hand. The reason I talk about the social determinants of health is because for far too often we have dismissed the impacts of our lived conditions on our health outcomes. And I think about it from being a child and when me and my mom didn't have a place to call home, going to school hungry, coming home and the lights are off, and you're in class thinking about how are we gonna get the lights back on? What is mom gonna do? These are the types of things that impact test taking. They impact your ability to perform. So we have to think holistically when we're talking about the health of people. But of course, access to care and having high quality care, no matter how much money you have in your pocket, no matter whether you're working or not, you're a small business owner, that is so critical. And I take pride in being a broken clock, a broken record about this in terms of Medicare for all, because I know how critical it is. This is a justice conversation. It is an economic conversation, and of course, it is a health conversation. And one of the things that I often think about as a type 1 diabetic, it is terrifying to run out of medication and know that, well, I don't have enough money to stay alive. And no one should have to face that in the wealthiest country in the world, where Elon Musk is on a path to being a trillionaire. So we can do better, and we don't need excuses. And it's not enough to just restore the ACA subsidies. We need to do that, but we have to make sure that no one is falling through the cracks in the United States.
All right, thank you so much. I believe we've got all the candidates for that question. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Arvey for our next question.
Thank you very much. We're winding down. We've got one more question, and then we'll go into our closing remarks. And in terms of this last question, here's a little background. Kentucky, like other states, has legal and illegal immigrant families who in the majority are lawful, work, pay taxes, and contribute to the economic prosperity of the state. So here's the question. If elected, how would you work in a bipartisan way toward a path to U.S. citizenship? What do you see as the state's role versus the federal government's role in implementing immigration enforcement? And we'll turn to Vincent Thompson for the first answer.
So the issue with immigration is that we have such a elongated and frankly drawn out process to become an American citizen. There's no reason in today's day and age with our technology, with our ability to have people on demand, that we can't fast track that process. It's a little bit more rebellious, maybe a little more roguish to speak how I've talked about it in general conversation, but we should really be able to get people become citizens, get them to contributing to taxes that need to be earned for the services they're rendering. And we should be able to do that fairly rapidly, even at the border. Now, you're going to have people that are going to slip through the cracks, but we also have a prison system that's being forcefully fed people that don't really need to be in the prison system. And we already have methods in place to take care of people that are criminals. It's such a low percentage of the immigrant population that are criminals that it's just a talking point for avoiding the issue. So states should have their responsibility, federal should have their responsibilities, and we can just make it better. I mean, we're just trying to make it better from every account.
All right, thank you. Charles Booker?
No human being is illegal. I maintain that with very great clarity, because what we see now is a lot of hate and bigotry being weaponized, and the idea that we should be blaming people who are coming to this country, many of whom are seeking asylum. They're seeking the American dream. They're trying to take care of their families. They pay taxes. They inject rather trillions of dollars into our economy. And so the idea that our problems are because of immigrants is not only false, it is hateful, and it's being used as a wedge to block us from the progress we need. We absolutely need immigration reform, and we just need the courage to do it. And to quit hiding behind the bigotry that has been shaped by Mitch McConnell for years, and of course Donald Trump pouring gasoline on it. We know that by investing in our system as it is now, there are so many people who are eligible for legal status, but they can't make it through the system. And so their violation is paperwork. If we actually fund our court system so that they can move through the process and have a secure pathway to legalization, this is one of the biggest issues right now, especially with what's happening with ICE. This is an agency that has been weaponized over the notion of protecting security and immigration reform, but they're just inflicting terror. ICE needs to be abolished, and we need an immigration system rooted in humanity with scalable offenses. Instead of having this deportation industrial complex, we can do better as a country by centering humanity.
Thank you very much. Michael Ferris? Is he back on? No, not yet. Logan Forsythe?
Thank you, Doctor. So, in terms of what is the role for the federal government and the state government, I am of the stance that the immigration system needs to strictly be in terms of pathway to citizenship, in terms of helping immigrants come over here and become citizens. That needs to stay with the federal government's hands. So long as we have the right people in office, like the people running right now, who will make the right changes that we need. If this is a system that's left up to each individual state to make their own system, then, I mean, we see it right now with the gerrymandering that's happening and people, the Supreme Courts of different states ignoring the will of the voters after, they have voted on new districts. If it's up to individual states, more people are going to fall victim to bad policies than if we can fix the federal system. Now, same thing with Mr. Booker. I believe we have to abolish ICE. They are way too far gone. We can't just reel them in. We can't just reform them. Also, I was a federal agent. I was a special agent in the United States Secret Service. I was trained by the same agency that trains ICE agents. I can tell you that a couple years ago, when I was in, if I would have shot and killed a citizen for protesting, I'd be in prison right now, rightfully so. So we have to abolish them, start over. Most of the crimes that happen with immigration are fraud related from faulty paperwork. Most of the people coming over who are being treated like hardened criminals, they are victims of human trafficking. We need to actually view this for what it is and solve the real problems.
Thank you, Mr. Forsythe. Next up is Amy McGrath.
Okay, 4 things. First thing is we absolutely have to, whatever you want to call it, rein it in, reform it, you name it. This form of immigration enforcement that this administration has put and terrorized America with has got to go. Full stop. All right, that's number 1. Any law enforcement agency in this country has to respect the basic human rights of all human beings in our country. Okay. Number 2, we have to have immigration reform and it be done on a bipartisan way. The last time there was any comprehensive immigration reform in this country was during the Reagan administration. We have to do it in a bipartisan way. And 3, it's got to include both, making sure that we have a border where we know who's coming into our country, but also making sure there is a path for those people who are here, particularly dreamers who came here when they were kids and who are living here peacefully, and they should not be terrorized in the way that we're doing this right now. A path to citizenship, a real path to citizenship. That is so important. And the last thing I'd like to say on this is, folks, we live in a nation built by immigrants, a nation of immigrants. And immigration makes our country stronger. It makes us better. We can't forget that. That's the big picture here. And right now, this administration and Republicans are getting away from that, and it's to our detriment. Let's get a senator back into the United States Senate who actually want to fix this problem.
Thank you very much. Del Romans?
I think this is a subject I know a lot about. I work with a large immigrant workforce, and to me, it's a 3-step program. And path to citizenship can happen, but that's not the most important thing to these people. The first thing is you have to have a secure border, which this administration's done a pretty good job of securing this border. ICE needs to be put back on the border where they belong, doing the jobs they were trained to do, and not the nation's police force. That's the first issue. You can't get rid of ICE. It'd be great to say, and it's a good political talking point until you find a way to replace it. We cannot just have open borders. Then you need to take all the people who are undocumented. There's a 10-year law that says if you're here one day undocumented, you can't apply for a visa for 10 years. It's a Clinton law that backfired and kept people in this country. So what you would do is you want to repeal that law or suspend that law. If a undocumented person in this country can be sponsored by an employer that proves that he's no American citizen wants to do that job, and he should be able to apply for a visa. And if he passes the vetting process, he should be able to get a renewable annual work permit so that he can work in this country, pay taxes, pass the vetting process. Any new candidate needs to go. We need to find out who they are and get them out because they're not the right people that we want in this country. And the last stage would be total reform of immigration, which we turn it into a temp service where anyone in the world can apply for jobs in this country. And then if an employer needs someone, they've been vetted at that process. I can send an email to the immigration department proving that I tried to hire Americans, nobody wanted the job. I need 20 workers from my barn, and they will send the workers to me. And I think it's a very common sense thing that can pass it with bipartisanship.
Thank you, Mr. Romans. And Pamela Stevenson, what are your comments?
We have built this country on immigration. We have a statute in New York that says, bring me your poor, your tired, you're hungry, so they may breathe freedom. Yes, we must secure our borders, and we have the technology to do it and not the will. The system is broken. We only want to allow immigrants in this country to do work, and we have consistently excused excuse them from policies for particular career fields. So I say fix the system, allow them to process through the system, secure the borders. Secondly, ICE has got to be abolished. It's too far gone. Yes, we need soldiers, military, well, not soldiers, but military people are some sort of force at the borders, but it cannot be ICE. I don't want to take their bad habits and their abuse to the borders. They don't represent who we are as Americans. They don't represent our values. They don't represent how we treat one another. They are filled with people who kill and disappear people. They don't need to be on the borders. We need a new stand-up police force on the borders to process people respectfully and in line with who we say we are and our values.
Thank you very much. Thank you, candidates.
All right, now we've come to our last question and our closing statement. So remember, you'll have 2 minutes for your closing statement. And the question is this: why should we vote for you? And to start off, we will have Pamela Stevenson start us off.
Thank you. I have been a public servant for the Commonwealth in this country for well over 40 years. As a lawyer, as national defense, as a legal advisor, living in 11 countries, negotiating on behalf of America, working with the United Nations, the 9/11 Commission, and foreign dignitaries. I've done all the work that a U.S. Senator has done and will continue to do it. Just check my record. I am not talking about what I could do. I'm not talking about what I've read to do. I am talking about what I have done. And in this race, there's a lot of great candidates, and only people in Kentucky would understand this. Yes, we need a Derby horse, but what you really need is a Triple Crown winner, and that would be me. I've done the work. I will continue to do the work. I'm the only one that has all of the different qualifications to do this job. Vote Stevenson on May 19th. And also, if you need more information, Google me. Thank you.
All right. Our next candidate, Vincent Thomas. Why should we vote for you?
Well, the first reason I like to always bring up this question is the fact that as of right now, I've already spanned 88 counties in this Commonwealth. I've made it a point to visit every place that I possibly can. And I've also done that on my own time and working around my own schedule. The other reason why you should vote for me is I already have experience in government. I'm already an elected official. I've worked with the Conservation District for 15 years, about 5 years with the State Association, and about 2 years with the National Association. I already am well aware of the not only the legal processes and the ability to construct and modify bills, but also the lobbying process. I've already been put into the grinder and been proven that I'm not susceptible to corporate money, both on the fact that I haven't taken anything from my campaign, but also the fact that I've worked alongside other lobbyists, and I know the tricks and the trades that they're going to be putting forth to candidates such as anybody in this Zoom call. Finally, the fact that anybody that has spoken with me, you can see it on my videos on my Facebook page or on TikTok where I post them. You can tell immediately that I am committed to the causes that I have put as my 3 pillars. The fact that I lost my wife due to insurance being in healthcare, the fact that my daughter has special needs and we need massive medical and mental health overhaul, and then the fact that I'm a farmer and I've been on the Conservation District. Soil and water, food, the core concepts of our country are at the root of everything that I've done with my life. So my name is Vincent Thompson. Please feel free to find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. I appreciate y'all's time tonight. Thank you for looking, and have a great night.
All right, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Charles Booker, the same question to you. Why should we vote for you?
Well, if you want to change the system, if you want to change the status quo and not just make excuses about why things are the way they are, vote for me. Not only do I have the experience of how to make government work, I've worked at every level of government, but I have a vision of real solutions. I'm the candidate offering real, bold solutions, not excuses, because I know we can end generational poverty. We can make sure that everyone lives a good quality life here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky and the United States of America. But one of the main reasons I'm asking for your support is that I know how to build coalitions to meet this moment, to protect our pursuit of democracy. I've done it across Kentucky, on the ground, on the picket line, in the streets, from the hood to the holler. We have built something over the years that is rooted in community. That's what this campaign is about. And as your next senator, that's how I will lead with you. We're going to Washington together to make sure your voice is heard in the policies that shape your life. And understanding what Mitch McConnell did to our Commonwealth in this country, taking notes from how he built infrastructure, how he drove resources to the ground. We need the leadership that will bring resources back to our community, address the social determinants of health, and finally help heal the deepest wounds in our country. That's what this race means. And it's the reason why, if we flip Kentucky, we're flipping the U.S. Senate. So I'm asking you to take a chance on a campaign that can win. The polls show it. The momentum on the ground shows it. The endorsements show it. I've been endorsed by Kentuckians for the Commonwealth. Here recently, just yesterday, the steelworkers for the state of Kentucky and the region endorsed our revolution, national leaders. I'm building something that will honor all the hard work you've done. Let me go to Washington to work for you because you've worked so hard to make this Commonwealth great. My name is Charles Booker. My website is charlesbooker.org. Let's win this primary together, and let's flip this seat for the people of Kentucky.
All right, thank you, Mr. Booker. Did Michael Ferris ever make it back on the call? If not, then we will move on. Logan Forsythe, why should Kentuckians vote for you?
Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, so first and foremost, I want to say that if all the voters really look at all the candidates on both sides that are running, there's no incumbent in this race. No one asking for your vote has done this job. And so therefore, we have an opportunity to put somebody new in who is not tainted by, business as usual on the national political level. I am running not for personal gain, not for personal reasons. I don't want a book deal. I don't want to start a big famous podcast when this is said and done. I'm not going to trade stocks as a congressperson. In fact, I will submit a bill to ensure that that is outlawed going forward. I am running because I'm a father of 2. My son's 14. In 4 very short years, that little guy that, not too long ago I held in my arms, the law is going to say he's an adult. They're going to say he gets to inherit the world. He gets to go enter the workforce, go to college, whatever he chooses, and the world is his to take. The world today is not the world I'm leaving my son. We have gone so far backwards this past year and a half. Someone has to be in office who is willing to stand up against this administration, all the members of Congress who are supporting this administration, and do everything they can to set the course straight, then to build up the safeguards that we need to ensure that something like this cannot happen again. I stated earlier, my daughter's 10. She has less rights today than she had the day she was born. I'm not okay with that. The best people in my life since I was a child were the women in my life. When my father left when I was 3, my mom, being a single mom, she stepped up. She did everything she could. I met my wife when I was 18 years old. We got married at the ripe old age of 20. And she's the one who pushed me to finish college when I couldn't see the end in sight. She pushed me to be the best version of myself. And now I have my daughter looking up to me to protect her in her future. As your next senator, I will not let the people that I love and care about down. I will not let you down. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Forsyth. Amy McGrath, why should Kentuckians vote for you?
Yeah, we on this call tonight, I think we all think Kentucky can do better. Between healthcare and prices being through the roof, this war, there is a lot at stake. And Kentucky deserves a senator who's going to stand up and not just be a rubber stamp for the policies that hurt us here in our state. And we have to nominate someone who can win. And I am the Democratic candidate who is the most competitive in November. That's what newspapers around the state have been saying, that Amy McGrath is the best candidate that gives Democrats the best chance to win. That's why the Lexington Herald Leader endorsed me just yesterday. Veterans organizations, union leaders, state legislators from all different regions, governors, past and present, here in Kentucky and around the country, and just fellow Kentuckians. We have to have a Democrat win the way Andy Beshear won twice in this state. We have to have a candidate who can speak to and listen and hear not just Democrats, but also independents and moderates. That is the path to win here. At the end of the day, I want our kids to live in a country where we can respect our leaders again and trust them, who share our values, where I don't have to turn the TV off every time, our leader comes on TV. I will bring back a government that works for you, not against you. And I will build a broad coalition that can win this open Senate seat here in 2026 to further the important causes that we all care about. So I ask for your support. I ask for your vote. If you want to know more, amymcgrath.com. I look forward to winning next week and then winning this seat in November.
All right, thank you. And finally, Dale Romans, why should Kentuckians vote for you? Mr. Romans?
Okay, technical problems. Donald Trump ran on draining the swamp, and he made it swampier than it's ever been. We need to get lifelong politicians out of Washington. The people of Kentucky need to take back Washington, D.C. We have a unique opportunity here for a Democrat, the right Democrat, to win this. We've got 2 candidates who've been on this forum tonight. They're talking about building coalitions and locking arms and using those coalitions to win. Well, they had those same coalitions and locked the same arms the last 4 times, and 2 of them ran and they lost. The definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over and over and expect a different outcome. One of the reasons I'm running is because I'm tired of Democrats losing. I can win this race. And I like to say I have a PhD in life. I understand a lot of things about Kentucky. I don't have a formal education, but life has taught me a lot. I grew up very poor, very dyslexic. I built a big business inside of our signature industry that I'm very proud of. I've become the president of our Horsemen's organization and worked on Capitol Hill and Frankfurt a lot doing that. I'm on the board of the Health and Welfare Fund that oversees all insurances for the backside workers of the state of Kentucky. I'm on the Kentucky Racing and Gaming Corporation, appointed by Andy Beshear. I'm ready to go to Washington, D.C. and go to work. I'm not a candidate that's going to keep saying I'm going to fight. I want to stop the fighting in Washington and go to work. You're hired me to do a job, and I will do it, and I will do it well. I will not be beholden to the party, but I will not be the puppet to the president like the Republican can. I know Andy Barr very well, and I'll guarantee you one thing. When we're on the debate stage, I'll make him sweat. Go to DaleRomans.com, please, and see if you like what you see, and vote for me next Tuesday. Thank you for having me tonight. It's a great forum.
Thank you, candidates. Tonight, we heard different priorities and different visions for the future of Kentucky and our nation. But one thing remains constant. Democracy works best when citizens are informed, engaged, and willing to participate. So on behalf of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the NAACP, and other sponsors, and to our candidates, thank you for sharing your time and ideas, and thank you to everyone across the Commonwealth who joined us this evening. Your voice matters. Go vote. Thank you and good night.